Men are moved by two levers only, fear and self-interest. Napoleon Bonaparte, they tell you everyone is inherently good. They whisper of an innate morality, a universal compass guiding humanity towards justice. This is a comforting lie, a fragile shield against the brutal truth of our nature. We are born not as blank slates, ready to be filled with altruism, but as complex organisms driven by primal urges, survival, dominance, and replication. These instincts, honed over millennia of competition, form the bedrock of our being. To deny them is to deny the very engine that drives us. Look around. Observe the world with clear eyes. Do you see inherent goodness? Or do you see ambition cloaked in virtue, manipulation masquerading as kindness, and a constant struggle for power simmering beneath the surface of polite society? The myth of inherent goodness is a tool, wielded by those who seek to control you, to disarm your defenses, and to exploit your naivete. It is a weapon against self-preservation, a siren song luring you towards the rocks. Shed this delusion. Embrace the reality of human nature in all its messy, complex, and often unpleasant glory. Only then can you navigate the world with clarity, protect yourself from those who would seek to harm you, and ultimately achieve your own ambitions. The human mind, a battleground of competing desires, is not designed for objective truth. It is a sophisticated instrument of self-deception, constantly rationalizing, justifying, and twisting reality to fit a pre-existing narrative. Memory is not a perfect recording, but a fluid reconstruction, altered by emotion and bias. We remember events not as they happened, but as we wish they had happened, or as we need to believe they happened to maintain our sense of self. Consider the slighted lover, rewriting their history with their partner to cast themselves as the perpetual victim. Observe the ambitious politician, conveniently forgetting past promises as they climb the ladder of power. The mind is a master of denial, capable of blinding itself to uncomfortable truths, especially those that threaten our ego or our sense of security. This inherent fallibility is not a weakness, but an evolutionary adaptation. A mind consumed by relentless self-criticism would be paralyzed by inaction. A mind unable to reconcile past failures would be incapable of future progress. Therefore, we are wired to forgive ourselves, to minimize our flaws, and to emphasize our strengths, even when those strengths are largely imagined. This self-serving bias extends to our perception of others. We are drawn to those who reflect our own values and beliefs, and we instinctively distrust those who challenge them. This tribalism, deeply ingrained in our psychology, fosters loyalty and cooperation within groups, but also fuels conflict and prejudice between them. The world is not divided by objective differences, but by perceived differences, amplified by fear and suspicion. To understand human nature is to understand the power of narrative, the seductive allure of belonging, and the constant tension between our rational minds and our primal instincts. It is to recognize that everyone, including ourselves, is engaged in a constant act of self-preservation, manipulating information and relationships to secure their own survival and advancement. This is not to excuse malice or condone cruelty, but to acknowledge the underlying forces that shape our behavior. Only by understanding these forces can we hope to control them, both within ourselves and in others. The competent leader, the skilled negotiator, the strategic player, all are students of human nature, keenly aware of the biases, the motivations, and the vulnerabilities that drive our actions. They do not rely on appeals to morality or justice, but on a clear-eyed assessment of self-interest, understanding that everyone at their core is motivated by the desire for power, security, and recognition. Learn to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Discard the comforting illusions and embrace the cold, hard reality of human nature. Only then can you become a master of your own destiny. Consider the story of Iago in Shakespeare's Othello. A seemingly loyal and honest soldier, Iago meticulously orchestrates the downfall of his general, Othello, driven by a potent mix of envy, resentment, and a thirst for power. He understands Othello's character intimately, recognizing his vulnerabilities, his trusting nature, his insecurity as an outsider, and his passionate temperament. Iago doesn't confront Othello directly. Instead, he weaves a subtle web of deceit, planting seeds of doubt in Othello's mind regarding his wife Desdemona's fidelity. He uses carefully chosen words, insinuations, and staged encounters to manipulate Othello's perception of reality. He exploits Othello's inherent biases, playing on his fears and insecurities to drive him to a jealous rage. Iago never explicitly accuses Desdemona. He simply raises questions, hints at infidelity, and presents carefully crafted evidence that confirms Othello's worst suspicions. He acts as a concerned friend, offering counsel and support while simultaneously poisoning Othello's mind. The brilliance of Iago's manipulation lies in its subtlety. He never reveals his true intentions, maintaining a facade of loyalty and honesty. He understands that people are more likely to believe what they want to believe, and he skillfully provides Othello with the proof he needs to confirm his pre-existing fears. Iago also understands the power of suggestion. By repeatedly questioning Desdemona's fidelity, he subtly plants the idea in Othello's mind, making him increasingly suspicious and insecure. He creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, where Othello's jealousy ultimately leads to Desdemona's tragic death. Throughout the play, Iago consistently demonstrates a deep understanding of human psychology. He recognizes that people are driven by emotions, biases, and self-interest, and he exploits these vulnerabilities to achieve his own goals. He is a master of deception, using language and behavior to manipulate others and conceal his true intentions. The character is a chilling example of how a skilled manipulator can exploit human nature to achieve power and inflict immense damage. The play highlights the importance of critical thinking, self-awareness, and the ability to resist manipulation. It serves as a stark reminder of the potential for darkness that exists within human nature and the devastating consequences that can result from unchecked envy, resentment, and the lust for power. Iago's actions are not merely the result of personal malice. They are a reflection of a deeper understanding of human nature and the ability to exploit its weaknesses. His triumph, albeit a Pyrrhic one, underscores the importance of vigilance and the need to be constantly aware of the potential for manipulation in our interactions with others. Learn from Iago, not by emulating his actions, but by understanding the principles of manipulation he employs. Recognize the tactics he uses to deceive and control others, and develop the skills necessary to protect yourself from similar exploitation. Only then can you navigate the complexities of human relationships with confidence and avoid becoming a victim of manipulation. The trap lies in believing your own inherent goodness. To assume that others operate from a similar ethical framework is to invite exploitation. Naivete is a luxury afforded only to those who can withstand the consequences of its inevitable betrayal. Observe the world with a detached curiosity, seeking to understand the underlying motivations that drive human behavior. Look beyond the surface of polite conversation and social niceties, and discern the subtle power dynamics at play. Every interaction is a negotiation, whether conscious or unconscious. Recognize that others are constantly assessing your value, seeking to determine how you can serve their interests. Do not mistake kindness for weakness, or assume that generosity is always altruistic. The world is populated by individuals driven by a complex mixture of motives, and it is essential to understand these motives in order to protect yourself and achieve your own goals. Consider the predator in the wild. It does not hate the prey, nor does it judge it. It merely recognizes an opportunity to fulfill its own needs. Similarly, the skilled manipulator sees people as tools to be used in the pursuit of their objectives. This does not necessarily imply malice, but it does require a certain level of detachment and a willingness to prioritize self-interest. Cultivate this detachment within yourself. Observe your own impulses and desires with a critical eye. Understand the vulnerabilities that make you susceptible to manipulation, and develop strategies to mitigate these weaknesses. Do not allow yourself to be blinded by emotion or swayed by appeals to your ego. Maintain a clear and objective perspective, and always question the motives of those who seek to influence you. The most effective manipulators are often those who appeal to your sense of empathy or fairness. They use these appeals to disarm your defenses and gain your trust, making it easier to exploit you later on. Be wary of those who shower you with excessive praise or attention, or who attempt to create a false sense of intimacy. These tactics are often used to lower your guard and make you more receptive to suggestion. Remember that genuine connection takes time and effort to build. True friendship is earned through shared experiences and mutual respect, not manufactured through superficial charm. Learn to recognize the subtle signs of manipulation, such as gaslighting, guilt-tripping, and emotional blackmail. These tactics are designed to undermine your confidence and control your behavior. When you detect these patterns, distance yourself from the situation and seek objective advice from trusted sources. Do not allow yourself to be drawn into power struggles or petty conflicts. These are often distractions designed to divert your attention from more important matters. Focus on your own goals and priorities, and avoid getting caught up in the drama of others. The most effective way to avoid manipulation is to cultivate a strong sense of self-worth and independence. When you are confident in your own abilities and secure in your own identity, you are less vulnerable to the influence of others. Develop your skills and knowledge, and become self-reliant in all aspects of your life. The more you are able to do for yourself, the less you will need to rely on others, and the less susceptible you will be to their manipulation. Furthermore, be aware of your own biases and prejudices. These cognitive distortions can cloud your judgment and make you more vulnerable to manipulation. Challenge your assumptions and seek out diverse perspectives, and always be willing to reconsider your beliefs in light of new information. The world is constantly changing, and it is essential to adapt to these changes in order to survive and thrive. Finally, understand that manipulation is a two-way street. While it is important to protect yourself from being manipulated, it is equally important to avoid manipulating others. Ethical behavior is not simply a matter of personal morality. It is also a strategic imperative. Trust is a valuable asset, and it is easily lost through deceit and manipulation. Build your reputation on integrity and honesty, and you will attract people of similar character. These are the individuals who will support you in your endeavors and help you achieve your goals. The path to true power lies not in manipulation, but in competence, integrity, and the ability to inspire others to follow your lead. Machiavellian strategy, at its core, is an unsentimental assessment of power. It begins with the understanding that human beings are fundamentally self-interested. Altruism and compassion exist, but they are often masks for deeper motivations, be they the desire for social approval, the avoidance of guilt, or the expectation of future reciprocation. To navigate the world effectively, one must see through these masks and understand the underlying drives that motivate individuals. This is not to say that one should become cynical or misanthropic, but rather that one should adopt a realistic and pragmatic view of human nature. This realism allows for the anticipation of others' actions and the strategic positioning of oneself to achieve desired outcomes. The Machiavellian approach is not about being inherently evil. It is about being strategically aware. It recognizes that the world is a competitive arena, and that those who are best equipped to understand and navigate its complexities are most likely to succeed. Deception, while not always necessary, is a tool to be considered. The effective Machiavellian understands the power of misdirection, the art of concealing one's true intentions while creating a false impression in the minds of others. This can involve feigning weakness to lull opponents into a false sense of security, or exaggerating one's strengths to deter potential challenges. However, deception must be employed judiciously, as its overuse can erode trust and damage one's reputation. Trust, in fact, is a valuable commodity in the Machiavellian world, and it should be cultivated strategically. Building alliances and fostering loyalty can provide a significant advantage in the pursuit of power. However, these relationships should be based on mutual benefit and a clear understanding of each party's interests. Naivete is a dangerous liability. The Machiavellian avoids sentimentality and remains focused on the objective, always assessing the costs and benefits of any action. This requires a degree of detachment and emotional control. One must be able to make difficult decisions without being swayed by personal feelings or moral scruples. This does not mean that the Machiavellian is devoid of empathy, but rather that empathy is tempered by reason and strategic calculation. Furthermore, the Machiavellian understands the importance of adaptability. The world is constantly changing, and strategies that were effective in the past may not be effective in the present. One must be able to adjust one's approach to suit the circumstances, remaining flexible and responsive to new information. Rigidity and dogmatism are fatal flaws in the Machiavellian arsenal. Understanding the nuances of social dynamics is also crucial. The Machiavellian is a keen observer of human behavior, able to read subtle cues and interpret unspoken messages. This allows for a deeper understanding of the motivations and intentions of others, and enables one to anticipate their actions with greater accuracy. Moreover, the Machiavellian is adept at manipulating social situations to one's advantage. This can involve shaping public opinion, controlling the flow of information, or influencing the decisions of key individuals. However, such manipulation must be carried out with subtlety and finesse, avoiding any appearance of overt coercion. Appearances are paramount. The Machiavellian understands the power of perception and cultivates a persona that is both appealing and intimidating. This can involve projecting an image of competence, confidence, and charisma. It is essential to maintain a sense of composure and control, even in the face of adversity. Showing weakness or vulnerability can be a fatal mistake. The Machiavellian approach also emphasizes the importance of long-term planning. Short-term gains should not be pursued at the expense of long-term objectives. One must be able to delay gratification and make sacrifices in the present in order to achieve greater rewards in the future. This requires a degree of foresight and strategic thinking. Understanding the historical context is also essential. The Machiavellian studies the past, learning from the successes and failures of previous leaders. This provides valuable insights into the dynamics of power and the strategies that have proven effective over time. History is a vast repository of knowledge, and those who fail to learn from it are doomed to repeat its mistakes. Finally, the Machiavellian understands the importance of self-preservation. One must protect oneself from threats, both internal and external. This can involve cultivating a network of loyal allies, developing a strong defense against attack, and remaining vigilant against treachery and deceit. The ultimate goal of the Machiavellian strategy is not simply to acquire power, but to maintain it. This requires a constant effort to anticipate challenges, adapt to changing circumstances, and protect oneself from harm. The path to power is fraught with peril, and only those who are truly ruthless and cunning can hope to survive. Consider the Roman Empire, a sprawling dominion built on conquest and maintained through ruthless efficiency. Its rise and fall offer a stark lesson in the realities of power. The legions, symbols of unwavering strength and discipline, were not merely instruments of war, but tools of psychological manipulation. They projected an image of invincibility, crushing dissent and inspiring fear in conquered populations. This fear, carefully cultivated and strategically deployed, was as crucial to Roman control as the legion's swords. The emperors, often men of immense ambition and equally immense cruelty, understood this principle implicitly. They recognized that power was not simply about military might, but about the control of perception. The spectacles of the Colosseum, the lavish public works, the carefully crafted propaganda, all served to reinforce the image of Roman power and to maintain the loyalty of the populace, or at least their acquiescence. Yet, even the most formidable empire is vulnerable to internal decay. The seeds of Rome's destruction were sown within its own borders. Political intrigue, corruption, and the slow erosion of its values. The constant struggle for power among ambitious senators and generals created instability and weakened the empire from within. Betrayal became commonplace, and alliances shifted with the winds of fortune. The emperors themselves were often victims of this treacherous game, assassinated by their own guards or overthrown by rival claimants. The lessons here are clear. External strength is meaningless without internal cohesion. A leader who cannot maintain the loyalty of his followers, who cannot prevent internal strife, is ultimately doomed to failure, no matter how powerful his armies may be. Consider also the strategies employed in war, a realm where the principles of Machiavellianism are often on stark display. Sun Tzu, in The Art of War*, emphasized the importance of deception and misdirection. All warfare is based on deception, he wrote. When able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. This principle is not limited to the battlefield. It applies to any situation in which one is competing for advantage. The ability to conceal one's true intentions, to mislead one's opponents, is a powerful weapon. Furthermore, the successful commander understands the importance of choosing his battles carefully. He does not engage in unnecessary conflicts, but instead focuses his resources on those objectives that are most critical to his overall strategy. He assesses his strengths and weaknesses, as well as those of his enemy, and chooses the time and place of battle to maximize his chances of success. A crucial component to a leader's success rests in the ability to inspire loyalty, devotion, and extreme discipline from his followers. This requires not only the ability to motivate, but also the ability to command respect. An army of capable soldiers that don't respect or listen to their leader is a weak and ineffective army. Therefore, it's paramount for a leader to cultivate a sense of loyalty in his followers that stems from both respect and a desire to follow orders. Without this loyalty, even the most cunning strategies can fall apart. In any conflict, whether it be a war between nations or a struggle for power within an organization, the ability to anticipate the actions of one's opponents is crucial. This requires a deep understanding of human nature, as well as the ability to analyze the situation objectively. By understanding the motivations, strengths, and weaknesses of one's opponents, one can predict their behavior and develop strategies to counter their moves. It is not enough to simply react to events as they unfold. One must be proactive, anticipating challenges and preparing for them in advance. The art of war, like the pursuit of power, is a constant game of chess. Each move must be carefully considered, taking into account the potential consequences. The successful strategist is not simply a tactician, but a visionary, able to see the bigger picture and to anticipate the long-term implications of his actions. And above all, the key to war, power, and success is the ability to manipulate human psychology to your advantage. The manipulation of human psychology begins with understanding its fundamental drives. Fear, ambition, and the need for belonging are the levers that move individuals and, by extension, entire societies. Consider the demagogue who preys on the fears of the populace, promising security in exchange for obedience, or the charismatic leader who taps into their ambition, offering a path to power and prestige within his organization. The astute observer understands these primal instincts and can use them to shape the narrative, to control the flow of information, and ultimately, to direct the actions of others. This is not merely about deception. It is about framing reality in a way that aligns with one's strategic objectives. It's about understanding that people are not always rational actors, but creatures of emotion and impulse. The study of psychology reveals the hidden biases and cognitive flaws that influence decision-making. Understanding these weaknesses allows you to exploit them, subtly guiding others towards a predetermined outcome. Consider the power of anchoring, where the initial piece of information presented can heavily influence subsequent judgments, or the bandwagon effect, where individuals are more likely to adopt a belief or behavior if they perceive it to be popular. These psychological principles, when applied strategically, can be powerful tools for influence and control. A true master of human psychology recognizes that individuals are not monolithic entities. They are complex, multifaceted beings with their own unique histories, motivations, and vulnerabilities. To effectively manipulate them, one must first understand them. This requires careful observation, active listening, and a willingness to see the world from their perspective. It is not enough to simply apply generic psychological principles. One must tailor one's approach to the individual, taking into account their specific needs and desires. A skilled negotiator, for example, will spend time building rapport with their counterpart, understanding their motivations and identifying their pain points. They will then use this knowledge to craft a compelling offer that appeals to their self-interest, while simultaneously addressing their concerns. This is the art of persuasion, the ability to influence others by understanding their psychology and appealing to their deepest desires. Manipulation does not always require overt coercion or deception. Often, the most effective form of manipulation is subtle and indirect. It involves shaping the environment, controlling the flow of information, and influencing the perceptions of others without their conscious awareness. Consider the power of framing, where the same information can be presented in different ways to elicit different emotional responses. A politician, for example, might frame a tax increase as an investment in the future, rather than a burden on the present. Or the art of suggestion, where subtle cues, a ND Chinese letter can influence behavior without explicit commands. A store, for example, might play certain music to encourage customers to linger longer and spend more money. These subtle techniques, when combined with a deep understanding of human psychology, can be remarkably effective in shaping the behavior of others. Mastering human psychology is not simply about manipulating others. It is also about understanding oneself. It is about recognizing one's own biases, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities. It is about developing the emotional intelligence to manage one's own emotions and to understand the emotions of others. A leader who lacks self-awareness is easily manipulated and prone to making poor decisions. By understanding one's own psychological makeup, one can become more resilient, more adaptable, and more effective in any situation. Consider the importance of emotional regulation in high-pressure environments. A leader who can remain calm and collected under stress is better able to make rational decisions and to inspire confidence in their followers. Or the value of empathy in building strong relationships. A leader who can understand and appreciate the perspectives of others is better able to build trust and loyalty. These qualities, when cultivated through self-awareness and emotional intelligence, are essential for success in any field. The study of human psychology is a lifelong pursuit, a continuous journey of discovery and understanding. As we learn more about the human mind, we become more adept at navigating the complexities of human interaction, at influencing the behavior of others, and at achieving our own goals. But it is important to remember that with great power comes great responsibility. The ability to manipulate human psychology should not be used for selfish or malicious purposes. It should be used to create positive change, to build stronger relationships, and to improve the lives of others. The true master of human psychology is not simply a manipulator, but a leader, a mentor, and a force for good in the world. The understanding of human nature is not a parlor trick. It is not about exploiting weaknesses for personal gain. It is about recognizing the underlying drives that shape our behavior, both individually and collectively. It is about seeing the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Consider the implications of unchecked ambition. A thirst for power without a corresponding sense of responsibility can lead to corruption and tyranny, or the dangers of blind faith. A belief in something without evidence, without critical thinking, can lead to fanaticism and violence. Human history is littered with examples of these failures, of individuals and groups who have been led astray by their own psychological vulnerabilities. The study of human nature is a constant confrontation with these dark realities, a refusal to look away from the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. It is a process of self-examination, of questioning our own motives and biases. Are we acting out of genuine concern for others, or are we seeking validation and approval? Are we driven by a desire for knowledge and understanding, or are we simply trying to confirm our own pre-existing beliefs? These are difficult questions, but they are essential for anyone who seeks to understand the human condition. The path to mastery over oneself and one's environment is fraught with obstacles. It requires a ruthless honesty, a willingness to confront our own shortcomings. Many people prefer to remain in a state of blissful ignorance, content with the comforting illusions that surround them. They shy away from the difficult questions, the uncomfortable truths, the challenges that demand self-improvement. But those who seek true power, true influence, must be willing to embrace the darkness, to delve into the depths of human psychology, to understand the forces that drive us all. Imagine a chess game. The pieces on the board represent individuals, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, their own desires and fears. A skilled player understands the value of each piece, anticipates their opponent's moves, and exploits their vulnerabilities. In the same way, a master of human psychology understands the motivations of others, anticipates their reactions, and influences their behavior. This is not about manipulation in the traditional sense. It is about understanding the game, about seeing the board clearly, about making informed decisions. The study of human nature is not a passive exercise. It is an active engagement with the world, a continuous process